Hello everyone and welcome to Covetous Imp Gaming. Today I want to talk about Daggerheart, a new tabletop RPG that's being produced by Critical Role and Darrington Press. So before I get started, I haven't made it through the entire 400-page playtest packet yet. I've flipped through it here and there, and I watched them play it on Critical Role last week. But I want to talk about the things that I've seen, the things that I've learned, and kind of the things I like, the things I don't like. And the things that I don't like is a very short list. The first big change is that Daggerheart has done away with the D20 system, and they've instead gone to a 2D12 system. Now your D12s have to be different colors, and one needs to represent hope, and the other needs to represent fear. Hope is a resource for the player to use, and fear is a resource for the game master to use. When you roll your two dice, the reason that they need to be different is you need to know which die rolled higher. So when you roll your 2d12, if you have a 9 on your hope die and a 3 on your fear die, you have a total of 12, but you've rolled with hope. Your hope number was higher. This means that you've generated a hope for yourself that is a resource that you can use for something later on. If the tables were turned and you rolled a 9 on your fear die and a 3 on your hope die, you still have a 12, but you've generated a fear for the game master to use, which he can use in combat or during a social encounter or whenever. So successes and failures, just like D&D, can be broken down into criticals, successes, and failures. Now there's a couple layers that are added into Daggerheart. You have your criticals, which because you don't have a 20 to roll on your D20, anytime that you get doubles, it can be double ones, it can be double 12s, it's a critical, and anywhere in between. That is a critical success, hit, whatever. Getting a critical generates a hope, and it also clears a stress. A stress is another resource that you have at your disposal. Your next, down from a critical being the best thing that you can have, is a success with hope. So that means your hope die was higher than your fear die, and the total was enough to achieve a success. A success with fear would be the next one down, which means you were still successful in the thing that you tried to do, but you generated fear for the game master to utilize. Down from that would be a failure with hope. I'm not sure if you get to generate a hope on a failure. That's something I need to kind of continue looking into. But it's just like basically a miss in D&D. Nothing really, missing in combat isn't horrible for you. You're not advancing the fight anymore. But you've just failed. A failure with fear would be the worst possible thing. Not only did you not hit or not succeed on whatever check you were trying to do, but you've also generated a fear for the game master. It really becomes more of a resource management game than D&D has ever been. Sure, in D&D you have spell slots, you have rages, wild shapes, things like that. But in this, the more you do, the more hope you're going to generate. And at the same time, the more that you do and the more unlucky you are, the more fear you're going to generate for your game master. But hope is the thing that kind of churns things forward and it allows you to really power up the things that you're doing. One of the fun things that they've introduced that they utilize to great advantage during the Critical Role episode was this idea of a team up. Once per session, every player has the opportunity to initiate a team up with another player. And one of the things that was done in the game was really strong like Goliath in Daggerheart's version of a Goliath picked somebody up and threw them at the enemy. Now, if you think about this in D&D, there would be, an acrobatics check or an athletics check and damage would be done. But Daggerheart kind of does it a little bit differently, at least right now. Both players, so the initiation happens, it costs 3 hope to initiate one of these. Both players that are involved in the team up roll for their attack or for whatever they're doing. And then you pick the higher number. Whatever the better outcome is the number that you pick and go off of. Now, if that's a success, you both roll for damage and add those numbers together, and that's the amount of damage that you're dealing in that one hit. Now, it's used both of your turns for that round, probably, but it's probably going to generate more damage overall because you're only using one set of rolls to... It's almost like rolling at advantage, but really piling up the amount of damage that you're dealing. Which brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, and this was an exciting one for me because you're talking about big numbers in damage. In Daggerheart, you have a very limited number of hit points, but that's because damage is done, and that damage is divided up amongst damage thresholds. Everyone has an evasion score, which is the equivalent to your armor class in D&D. If the number that's rolled is less than your evasion, you're not hit. If it's higher than your evasion, you're hit, you're going to take damage, and so on. Now, your damage thresholds are a number that's assigned probably based on your class or the armor that you're wearing. We'll just go with some rough examples. So let's say damage up to 7 is a minor wound. A minor wound is 1 damage to the actual character. Damage up to 14 would be considered a major wound, and that would be 2 damage to your character. And damage up to 21, let's say, would be a severe wound, and that would be 3 damage to your character. And doubling that severe wound number causes you to take 4 damage. But you also have another resource, which is your armor. And your armor has a number assigned to it, and using a charge of your armor will reduce that damage, your overall damage number, by whatever your armor value is. So let's say you were hit for 19, and you are going to take a severe wound. Well, you use a charge of your armor to reduce that number by 5, and it's now you're down to 14. So now you're taking only 2 damage instead of 3 damage. And it does kind of become a little bit of a math game, and I think that with a little getting used to, it kind of just becomes secondhand again, or second nature again, to kind of work through. Okay, I took this much damage. I can mitigate this much, and I'm going to take I'm actually going to lose this much health. So the next thing I want to talk about is initiative. And I love the structure of initiative, but I hate the structure of initiative. Nothing takes the winds out of my sails when I'm running a game than asking for people to roll for initiative and to have that one person at the table say, "Oh, I was on my phone. Are we rolling for initiative?" Because now not only have you taken that, you've stopped everything, immersion's ended, and you're going around the table asking somebody for a number that you're putting into an order with your monster, and everything has to be just so, and it's very strict. And the thing that I really don't like, having seen Daggerheart in action, is the strictness of that initiative. If you have a swarm of anything coming at your party, and you are thinking as the wizard, I'm going to open this encounter up with a insert AoE spell here, and then you roll a 3 on your initiative, you can't expect the paladin and the barbarian to say, "Well, I guess I'll just wait for you to do that." That doesn't make sense. The barbarian of all people is going to be, "I see red, I'm running, I'm swinging." Like, that's how barbarians are. So that doesn't make sense in our current initiative system. In Daggerheart, you use everything with combat is dynamic. So you kind of pick your initiative roll as you would in that situation. Hey guys, hang on a second. I want to do insert AoE spell here. And, send it while everything's huddled up and your friends are not huddled up in that pile. And then everybody can go about their business. The idea of, I want the healer to go last because what if something bad happens? I want them to be ready for the bad thing that happened this round. That's great, except for the fact that now fear is a resource that the GM gets to use. So think legendary action again, right? That idea of you did something, you rolled with fear, or you failed with fear. Not only did you fail, but now I'm going to hit you for it. That person might go from being in great shape to being really messed up, and having somebody else later on roll with fear might cause that person to, be, downed or worse. So having that healer be able to say, okay, well, hold on a second. Let me jump in here and not be locked into that initiative. Oh, well, I got a 3. So, you've got to wait 10 more. You're on 13. I'm 3. If there's another attack, this person's dead. They can just jump in and say, I'm going to run up and I'm going to heal them. And hopefully whatever I do doesn't generate fear. When I was thinking about this video, all I could think of was initiative is a must. You can't survive without it. It's a system that's in place for a reason. And as I've made this video, my mind was changed. I almost can't see using initiative because you need that fluid, dynamic setup. If you have somebody who's always just, I'm going to go first and I'm going to run in and I'm going to do this, great. But they have the option to not do that. And it gives that one person the opportunity to say, hey, hold on. I want to open up with this and keep you safe. Let me just try this out. And it's not just I always roll good on initiative because I roll with advantage or whatever. And I'm always bad because my dexterity is horrible. It gives the game a different feel, and I really think I like it a lot. Another kind of good thing that I took away from this is your character is made up of more than just your class. Where in 5e, your race doesn't really play, especially since Tasha's, your race plays very little role in your character's development. Where in Daggerheart, it seems like your race, your background, and your class all kind of come together to make a well-rounded individual. And I'm sure that there will be posts somewhere that say, if you're playing this class, this is the best race, this is the best heritage for you. I'm sure that will be a thing. But because you have so many different combinations and everything kind of feeds abilities into what your character can actually accomplish, there's going to be a lot of really cool options and combinations out there that, again, you just don't get in 5e. So overall, I would say go online, go to daggerheart.com, put your email address in, download the player packet, and check it out. It doesn't cost you anything, and it gives you the opportunity to at least get your feet wet in this game and see where it takes you. So, and in looking at it, you'll see that there are elements of 5e that are there. This game is made completely off their OGL. There's no open game license to Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, nothing. This is a complete labor of love from the people at Darrington Press and Critical Role. and it feels different, and it seems like a lot of the bad that's been in the past is getting left in the past, and this is a new foot forward. And it really does feel like, I for one hope that my players see this video and take a look at the player packets as they come out and say, this is something that I really want to at least try out. Now, I'm not saying I'll leave 5e in the past or 1D&D in the past, but I at least want to try this out and see how it feels. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave us a comment below about the things you love about Daggerheart, the things you hate about Daggerheart, whatever it is, I'd love to talk about it. Hit the subscribe button and the bell so you're alerted to our future content. We appreciate all the support, and we'll see you next time.